Different people have different ideas about what the church is or isn't. This is primarily a lesson about what the church is not. By way of introduction, it is simply not a museum where we put perfection on display. In Philippians 3:12, Paul said, I press on. So he hadn't laid a hold of it yet. Now, if Paul, as he reached the latter years of his ministry, which he was at that time, could confess, could say, look, I'm not there yet, guys. I've still got some ground to travel. I've got things to work on. If he can say that, then how much more could we say that? And yet there is something in our ideology and our thinking, our putting on our game face and wanting to present our best foot forward and all of those other little cliches that keep us from really being honest, that we're all a bunch of messed up, spiritually wounded, ain't got it together group of people trying to help one another get to heaven. But oh, by the way, you got to understand, I'm the one that got it figured out. I mean, none of us got it all figured out yet. So we all struggle, and we do, and we need to grow. That's why we come together, so we can learn from one another. And maybe your experience will help another. Maybe your experience doesn't connect to another. No one can be all things unto everyone. But within a number like what we have, we find out that there is a lot of help and there is a lot of connection that we can have and a lot of benefit. So we have our Pharisees mindset and our tax collector mindset. Let's just go and read that one. I think that's better read than just referred to. So go to Luke 18. We'll give us two crowds here, two groups to look from. Starting at verse 9. And he also told this parable to some of the people who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and viewed others with contempt. Two men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and was praying to himself, God, I thank you that I'm not like other people, swindlers, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I pay tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing some distance away, was even unwilling to lift up his eyes to heaven, but was beating his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. And that's what we have in most places. We have some people, now they're not going to go, oh, me, I'm the Pharisee. But let's be honest, there's the Pharisee mindset pretty much in any congregation of any size. And there's the tax collector mindset. And what we want is that humble disposition. God is opposed to the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. We're going to be accepted in the judgment day. Humility is the way to enter that. And so it just includes some honesty and a willingness to understand things and honesty with yourself and understand other people and let them take their journey and support them in their journey and help them along. And depending on who we're talking to and our connection with them, that varies a lot. If you're really, really close buds with someone, you can say a whole lot more than somebody who maybe you never say much more than hello, good morning, good to see you at church today. And then you don't see them again till next week. That's a little bit of a different relationship. So the church is not for people who think they are better than others. Fact is, we've all sinned. We all fall short of the glory of God. And if it weren't for the blood of Christ, we'd all deserve hell. I don't care what your past sins are, what your details are. If it weren't for the blood of Christ, you deserve hell. End of story. And James 3:2 says we all stumble in many things. And we do. Because it's tough. And what we need is a church family, a support group that understands what it's like to be human and supports us in our stumbling forward. So we're not a place composed of perfect people. Now and then people will say to me things like, well, I don't know that I'm just good enough to go to church yet. I don't know that I'm good enough to belong there, which always puzzles me. That one, I have trouble coming with a good, quick answer because it's to me, it's just like saying, well, I'm really, really sick. I can't go to the doctor yet till I get well. Well, nobody would say that. I'm hungry. I can't go eat till I get full. No, you wouldn't say that either. I'm spiritually wounded. I'm messed up. You need church. That's what church is for. James 1, 21, 22, he says, you put aside all filthiness and all the remains of wickedness. In humility, receive the word implanted, which is able to save your soul. And prove yourselves doers of the word and not merely hearers who delude themselves. So what we're doing in here is, yes, we're worshiping God, and we're going through, we traditionally call them the 5 acts of worship, and that's all well and good. And then we're working on ourselves, and we're helping one another. Think of it as a spiritual fitness class. Now, I don't want that to sound too casual, because this is heaven and hell. This is eternity that we're dealing with. But the fact is, you've got some people in a fitness class, if you're thinking Planet Fitness, who understand the equipment, they understand the exercise, they understand how it all works, and they've been doing it for years and years. You kind of want to listen to those. And you got other people who are big, out of shape, and they're just not really sure if they want to walk in the door. And those are the people that need to walk in the door too. Everybody needs to walk in the door. You don't wait till you get in shape to go to the gym, and you don't wait till you get in spiritual shape to start pursuing spiritual fitness. If you wait till you get in shape before you pursue it, you're never, ever going to pursue it. And so you just get in and you start taking a whole series of little baby steps. That's it. I don't care how baby a step we're talking about. It's just baby steps. I had a lady ask me once, been many, many, many years ago. She said, now, was the crucifixion before or after the flood? Now, how many of you go, are you kidding? No, I'm not. She really did ask me that. I thought, well, just let me give her the answer. And I said, the flood happened in Genesis, and you can read about the crucifixion over in the Gospels. Now, that's not a bad answer. That's right. And you wouldn't look at her and go, come on. My 3-year-olds in toddler class know that one. No, don't do that. That's ugly. Fact of the matter is, I like to say, I did not know that 1 + 1 = 2 until somebody told me. And it's the same thing with all of this other. That's why it's just baby steps. You just start, you get in and you learn. And you're going to stumble around a little bit. But church is not for the absolutely flawlessly perfect. We'd have 0 membership, wouldn't we? If that's the only people who could attend church, we wouldn't have anybody. Because we're all messed up. And that's okay. That's why we go to the great physician. The church is not a gathering of the sinless. This may seem like a little bit of an overlap. I won't argue with you too much. But he who conceals his transgression will not prosper. But he who confesses and forsakes them will find compassion. So here's that hospital analogy. That's what we're here for. We're here for people who are messed up, don't know up from down, in from out, north from south, whatever. They have messed their life up. And they say, I don't want to do that anymore. That's who we're here for. Now, I usually add, and I will add, if somebody comes in and says, my life's messed up, I don't know up from down, east from west, and I'm going to keep living this way, I'm going to say this is probably not the place for you. Because we're going to try to clean you up and give you some direction. That's what we're about. And some people just want an endorsement stamp upon their messed up life, and no, we don't give you that. Sympathy, compassion, understanding, some guidance, yes, but an endorsement stamp, no. We're a mutual support group. That's the best way I know to say it. We come together, and that is probably one of the places we break down a little bit. As I suggested in the opening, we have this tendency to, I want to look my best. Is my tie right? I got my belt just right. Okay, how's my hair doing? And I want to show up at the building. I want to look like I got it together. Well, I don't mind you looking nice. That's not my point. Thing is, none of us have got it together. And all of us who've known each other long enough know we ain't got it together. And then yet we want to go ahead and play that game. Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs to parade down the front and tell the congregation all your stuff. Do not do that. But within a church family, you've got to have that core group, those 2 or 3, 4 people, you pick your number, that you can really open up and you can talk about the things that you're struggling with. Now, among men, we like to call that mentoring. Sounds a little more masculine. We're going to mentor one another, which when you mentor, really, if you do it right, all you're doing is you're getting the older guys who have more experience and opportunity to talk to the younger guys. So the younger guys can say things like, and in private, I might add, my wife is driving me nuts. How did you get through it? And then he can just say, I went fishing a lot, or whatever his answer was. But they need that place. Now, you can see why you don't want all this out, in the open. But you got to have a place where you can come together and you can talk about your struggles like a mutual support group. Now, if you've ever been a part of a support group, whether it was like Al-Anon or something, where you do have a group of people that come together and just dump all their stuff kind of on the floor and talk about it, it can really be encouraging. It can really be supporting. In my family, we have had occasion in the years past to need the assistance of the Al-Anon group, the support for the families as we're dealing with other members. And you would find some things in the group and go, yeah, I don't think so. And you'd find other things and go, I'm glad I heard that. That's just the way those things work. So no one here should be expecting absolute perfection, not of other people, nor of themselves. It's a nice idea, aim at it, but fact is, you're not going to hit it because we're human, we stumble and we mess up. And if I think I've got to do it perfectly right, then when we hit the first misstep, we're going, well, I'm out, I'm done. And we quit. We don't want that. So instead of judging one another and getting too critical, we just help one another. We're just there. And we try to be aware of when somebody wants help and when they don't. Because here's another aspect of it. People aren't always ready for help. They're hurting. They're struggling. They realize they haven't got it figured out, but they're not ready to ask for help. And you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. The only person you can help is the one that says, okay, I'm ready. Let me hear what you got to say. And let me tell you another thing. Once you get to that point, you don't have to take what they say. If you ask me things, well, I grew up in the 60s, Fort Smith, I swing bicycles and slingshots, all that stuff. Well, my experience may not resonate with you at all. You're 100% welcome to say, I'm glad that was your life, but now I need to talk to somebody else. Because not everybody, not anyone, can be everything to everybody. And that's okay. It really is. So the church, it's not a gathering of people that never sin or fall short. Here's James 3:2 again. James 3:2, this isn't the whole verse, but he says, we all stumble in many things. There you go. So we're a bunch of stumblers trying to help each other stumble forward in the right direction. The church is not a place that takes the joy out of life. This is one of the places that I think is keeping folks from being interested in religion. There's a mentality out there that, look, preacher, my plate is already full. I've got more stuff on my schedule. I got 2, 3, 4 kids. I got baseball schedule. My husband's got this. I've got that. We've got this all going on. And I just don't have any time for church. And they don't. And their plate is full. And they don't understand that church done correctly does not pile more stuff on your plate. Done correctly, it makes it easier to handle the stuff on your plate. But somewhere in the process, we don't always get that message conveyed, and it is not the experience of everyone. I hope you're sitting there going, you're absolutely right, preacher. I could not get through my week without church. Church is what helps empower me, helps keep me focused. It just adds so much to my life. That's where we want you to be. But the fact is, a lot of people are at the other place. I just feel like you're overwhelming me with this church thing. I got too much to do right now. And that's a shame. Some people feel like they're going to lose the fun in life. Well, now, I'll be honest, we're going to try to take the sin away because that's really not fun. But we're not trying to take your freedom away or your happiness away. We're really trying to get you to that place in life where you can get into your groove and kind of ride that groove out for the next 50, 60 years and sing as we sing sometimes, sweeter as the years go by, sweeter as the years go by. That's the experience that we want to be aiming at. So the Ethiopian eunuch went on his way rejoicing. There's the goal. Christianity. It should be additive in so many ways to our life. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Philippians 4:4. Christianity is not something to dread. But unfortunately, don't most of us know the experience where it has been something to dread? It has been, you've been around a toxic church member or maybe a toxic congregation, and it's just been really, really painful and difficult to be around those people, and it certainly didn't add anything joyful to your life. What we want is you to become more genuine in your spirituality and your walk with Christ, stronger, more capable of handling the things that life throws at you. Because look, life's going to throw it at you anyway. Satan isn't going to sit around and go, well, this guy's having trouble. Let's not throw anything at him this week. Oh, no. He plays ugly. He's going to kick you when you're down. So what we want is this training in peace. Now, Brother Milford read you verse 6. Be anxious for nothing, but everything by prayer and supplication. Let your requests be made known to God. The next verse says, and the peace of God that surpasses understanding will guard your hearts. There you go. That's what we're wanting to add. We're wanting to add, you go on your way rejoicing. Now, I get it. Sometimes you're going to leave and go, yeah, the sermon wasn't too good today. Maybe you didn't have enough coffee. Maybe I didn't have enough coffee. You know, every sermon can't be great. That's all right. But you really want to be able to look back and go, this is good. This is adding some stuff to my life. I just love my church family and that kind of thing. And you've got your rejoicing always, and you're learning that peace that passes understanding. And you're going through a hard time, but you've learned to keep your balance and your focus in that hard time. Church, it's not for grumpy people that don't want to smile and enjoy life. No. It's for people who want to love life and they want to live that abundant life and the depth of love and the peace that passes understanding. Church is not a place for soliciting money. Now, we got to have money. If you want to have a nice building, you want to keep the plumbing working and the AC working, and you want somebody professional in your pulpit, you're going to have to put out some money. That's the way it works. Now, some churches learn to cut corners. And they cut corners till they close the doors. Okay, that's their call. That's their business. They can do it however they want. So you got to have some money. But the church doesn't exist to solicit your money. And we're not here to take your money because you don't know what to do with it, right? And we're going to take your money and then we're going to decide where your money goes. We have a very narrow perspective of money. And once that goes in the plate, that is the Lord's money. You gave it to the Lord. Now, when it's in your pocket, you do with it what you want. That's between you and the Lord. Once it goes in the plate, we're going to use it to support the teaching of the Word and some limited benevolence. That's it. We're not going to go get you a baseball team. We're not going to get you those donuts Brother Mark was talking about, where the elder's sitting and eating the Lord's Supper and taking a bite of his donut in the middle of the Lord's Supper. I'm like, whoa, somebody backed the bus up here. That ain't right. So we got our money, and we need your money. But we ain't here to take your money and redirect it and send it somewhere else. Let me say this one more time. When that money's in your pocket, that's your money. That's what Peter told Ananias and Sapphira. He said, after you sold the land, wasn't that your money? Why'd you lie about it? That's a good question, isn't it? Why'd you lie about it? Why didn't you just come say, here's part of the money? They'd have never got struck dead. But they had to tell their lie. But while it's yours, you go do and you support who and what you want. Once we give it to the Lord, we're going to be real picky about it. And if you want to know more detail about that, we keep the budget and what have you. And you can see where our money goes. Our goal is really, it's not so much money. It's we want you to lay up treasures in heaven. That's what we want you to do. And that's just going to be a bunch of little good deeds and what have you. We want your heart. If your heart's in this place and you enjoy this place and you love being part of this place, that's what we want. Now, you could come and dump a lot of money in the plate and be a grumpy old cranky member. We don't want that. We want your giving to be an act of joy. Now, that's going to vary a little bit. So I have my volunteer thing that I like to do, and I like to do it, and I get kind of excited about it, and I'm happy to do it. And by the time I get the end of my little volunteer thing done, I'm happy at the end of the day. And I pillow my head, and I'm like, yeah, that was a good day. Okay, however you choose to give, that's what I want you to do. If you like teaching the kids, and I know the kids will wear you out sometimes, the little ones especially, they're wonderful. But if you can, after you've been worn out, pillow your head and go, that was good. That's what I wanted to do. That's great. And then, we have a lot of little tasks around here that have to be done, like yard care and what have you. And some of you, that's your thing. And you get out here and you work in the yard and you sweat, and you do what you do. And I appreciate it very much because that's not my thing. And, you feel happy about putting it in. That's really what I want you, that's where I want you to be, is after you've done what you do, when you learn to give, Acts 20:35, more blessed to give than receive, the place you chose to do your giving enriched your heart. Nursing home, hospital visits, whatever your thing is, and after you've done it, you feel good about you. That's the kind of soliciting I want to do. Your time and your talent, not just your money, not just your Sunday, but your passion for the local vineyard. And there's enough work in the local vineyard for all of us to find our own little particular niche. There's no question about that. So you give it your time, you give it your attention, you give it your talent in a way that makes you feel what I want to uplifted. Now, if at the end of it you're cranky and aggravated, you did it. So I hope this doesn't get too close to home. I don't use this example. VBS, that's a busy week, let me tell you. And you get to the end of that week, you're tired. I got nothing against tired. Good to get to that Thursday night and go, I'm glad that's over. I'm tired. I'm 60-something years old. I don't know I could do much more of this. But is it a happy tired? There's a big difference between getting to the end of that week and I'm worn out. I'm glad that's over, but that was fun. Or getting to the end of the week and going, I'm glad that's over. I don't know why our stupid elders keeps having that VBS. That's just wearing me out. I wish we'd just stop that. Well, you can take that attitude somewhere else. We don't need that here. But see, that's a whole wrong attitude. We want the I made a good investment of I laid up some treasures in heaven attitude. So do what you do, give what you give, and I'm going to let you pick that all on your own because you find joy in serving the Lord in it. That's the point. So the church isn't for people in love with their money, who are afraid to give up their time and their talent unless they're getting some payback for it. Church is for people who love the church. Find your niche, run in that groove. The church is not a bunch of rules designed to hinder you. Now, there are some rules, but they're not supposed to be all crazy, complicated, and restrictive, and we're scrutinizing every little thing you do. Frankly, I don't have the time to scrutinize all of you and what you do. I'm still trying to figure out to scrutinize myself. You know my joke. I say, once I get me figured out, I'm going to work on Sharon. Sharon just laughs. And I say, watch out. Because after I get you figured out, I'm coming after Allie. And Allie really laughed. She said, I'll never get you figured out. Anyway, now we're supposed to support one another and empower one another. That's really what we're wanting to do. Now, there are rules, though. And so I'm going to use the driving analogy. And so there's going to be some difference. So when you learn to ride a tricycle, how many of you remember when you were a little tricycle motor? Remember? Can you hear it? Squeak, 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 squeak. Okay. How many rules were there? Weren't a whole lot of rules on a tricycle, were there? There was a couple, like don't go on the street, but there weren't many. And then you wanted a bicycle. Then maybe you wanted a motorcycle. And I know you get to the point where you want a car. I want to drive. Are there rules when you get your driver's license? Amen. There are rules. Are the rules there to keep you from having fun or to keep you having fun? I'm going to tell you it's the latter. The rules are not there to keep you from enjoying driving. They're to keep you alive so you can continue to enjoy driving. Yes, we have rules, Because if you go off the rails, your life's going to be ugly. Then you're going to look at me and go, preacher, this Christianity doesn't work. I'm going to know it works really good. You're the one that messed up. We had the guardrails there. Why did you jump the guardrails? Well, I just thought that'd be more fun. Well, how's that working out for you? So rules aren't there just for the sake of rules. They're there to keep us safe. And it's not just about ticking off the boxes on a checklist. It's about really learning how to do this because there's a reason we do what we do. We want you to have the abundant life. But you're only going to do that if you really walk with Jesus. And again, I don't think it's that complicated. What gets us complicated is we get off into some theology that's really not all that relevant to my daily living. How do you explain the Trinity? How could God be God and be Jesus, and Jesus be God but be Jesus, but the Holy Spirit, and I get over here, and that is confusing stuff. I don't understand the Trinity. That's why I sympathize with my oneness friends who took a different track. I'm like, I think you're wrong. I believe in the Trinity, but when it gets down to daily life, how many times have you been facing something and went, okay, wait a minute. It's Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, isn't it? And it solved your problem. It just resolved everything you were dealing with when you remembered the Trinity. So there's some theological things that we will study, but that's not what we're talking about. When we're talking about rules, we're talking about love your wife as Christ loved the church. Wives, submit to your husbands as unto the Lord. Fathers, raise your children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, but don't exasperate them. If you're an employee, do your job as though you're doing it for the Lord. Practice the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, temperance. That stuff. That's what we're talking about. So if you got rules that bully people, those aren't good. Those are off focus. So church is not for people that love the rules more than they love God. Church is for people that love God and want to walk in his footsteps. And that's a little interesting. You use John 14:15, or you can use John 15:14. Both of these work. If you love him, you will keep his commandments. The two just go hand in hand. So I want you to focus on falling in love with God, and then your obedience is going to come right along in line. So let's wrap it up. The church is not a club for perfect people. I know some people like to look down their snooty little nose at other people and go, well, I would never, ever do that. Like their sin is somehow different. Isn't that funny? We're a church that teaches a sin is a sin is a sin is a sin. But if you sin different than I sin, and I happen to be one of these high-nosed people, then I look down at your sin as though your sin is worse than my sin. Come on. No, don't go there. We are a spiritual hospital. We're all messed up. Different levels of recovery, maybe, different ways of recovery, depending on what we're dealing with, but we're all here to help one another. This is a place for humble hearts that says, they're having a hard time. But I remember when I had a really hard time too. And I was glad when I was having my hard time, there was somebody with a gentle hand there willing to help me instead of stomp on me and put their thumb on me and make me feel like I was unworthy. It's a mutual support system. You're going to go through your bad times. I'm going to go through mine. We get our timing right. We'll be there for one another when we need to be there. It is a path to greater and greater joy. As we sing, sweeter as the years go by. We're definitely not trying to drain your bank account. We'd be much more devious if we were about that. I got to do it real quick. There are churches out there. I kid you not. You got the little old widow in the church, and she's got no family. The pastor goes to her and says, it'd really be a good thing if you'd leave your estate to the Lord. And I just happen to have the paperwork here for us to fill it out. And when you go on to your home in glory, you're going to be still supporting the church here. Ooh. No. We're trying to drain your bank account or take your grandbaby's money away from them. We're not trying to hinder or restrict or suppress you in a way that's contrary to Scripture. Now, you're out drinking and smoking weed and chasing women and stuff. Yeah, we're going to talk. But you're just learning to get through life and you're struggling like everybody else. We're not here to jump all over you for that. And this is a place that is open to everyone that's seeking God. It's been a while since I've said it, but I've said it in the past. I don't care who comes through those doors. I don't care if they pull up on their big old motorcycle and they got tattoos and piercings and things. I can't understand why a person would do that to their body. And they says, I'm looking for Jesus. I'm like, you're in the right place. That's what we want to help you find. It's open to anybody who's looking for Jesus. That's what church is. So I guess I'm bumping the clock. It's time to quit. Are you looking for Jesus? Are you looking for that happy church home? Are you looking to be a contributing, not financial, but that emotional contributing kind of person that makes the church family everything you want it to be the change you want to see? That's what we're after. That's what we're looking for. So I don't know a way to segue off that song right off the top of my head, so I'm just going to say, if you're subject to our public invitation, let us help you however we can.